Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for the latest RVA 757 Connects Virtual Innovation Spotlight webinar. I'm Greg Gilligan. I'm the Vice President of Operations at RVA 757 Connects. This afternoon, we have a really exciting, interesting program to learn more about how HRSD, which stands for the Hampton Roads Sanitation District, how HRSD is taking wastewater and turning it into clean water. This cutting edge initiative is being advanced through HRSD's Sustainable Water Initiative for Tomorrow, or SWIFT program. But before we get into that program, just a couple of housekeeping matters I just want to review. I'll do a quick update on RVA 757 Connects. Then we'll delve into today's topic about the SWIFT water program. And then we'll leave some time at the very end for questions and answers from you. Then I'll talk about what's coming up next. Just as a reminder, we record all of our webinars, so this recording will be available later this afternoon on our website. And if you have any questions, please put them in the chat function and I'll look over them and we'll review them and we will ask Lauren those questions towards the very end. Let me tell you a little bit about RVA 757 Connect. We are a nonprofit organization, so we rely on donations for our operations. Here are a list of our corporate donors and supporters, and we appreciate them and we recognize them for their support. We couldn't do it without them. Our mission is to improve the economic success and quality of life of everyone in the Richmond region, which we call RVA, and the Hampton Roads region, which is called 757. We are a coalition of top leaders representing businesses, higher education, and organizations. And we are following a national model where nearby localities collaborate on initiatives that advance both regions. We are advancing our mega region from the Metro Richmond area to Hampton Roads as the I-64 Innovation Corridor. As you can see, we're pursuing several different priorities. We're helping to the I-64 Innovation Corridor become a global internet hub, and more on that in just a few moments. We're also advancing things like multi-use trails, such as Trail 757 in the Hampton Roads area, and the Fall Line Trail in the Richmond region, and the Virginia Capitol Trail between Richmond and Jamestown. And now there's an extension to extend that into Williamsburg. You can read more about our initiatives and our priorities on our website at rva757connects.com. One of our priorities is to encourage collaboration and showcase innovation. And we are doing that in a couple of ways. One is hosting these Innovation Spotlight webinars on a monthly basis. Mark your calendars for our next webinar on Wednesday, March the 4th. We will learn more about a partnership between Old Dominion University and Google, and they're creating the first of its kind AI incubator for higher education with the launch of the Monarch Sphere powered by Google Cloud. It's designed to accelerate discovery, research, and digital transformation. This partnership uniquely positions ODU as a national leader in AI innovation and a model for how other universities across the country can prepare students, equip faculty with latest technological tools, and support communities for future digital growth. More details on this topic and will be available in the next couple of weeks. Hope you will be able to join us. As I mentioned, our top priority is to spearhead efforts to have the I-64 Innovation Corridor designated as a global internet hub. Our plan is a bold, innovative approach to harness a once-in-a-generation opportunity to transform the future of the Richmond region in Hampton Roads. When you view the Richmond area and Hampton Roads together, combined, we have the core digital infrastructure in place needed to become a global internet hub. This 3-foot by 2-foot map explains visually how the I-64 Innovation Corridor becomes a global internet hub. Our mega region has subsea cables that come ashore in Virginia Beach, and more are on the way. We have robust local and intercity terrestrial networks. We have a digital network ring. We have internet exchange, and we have data centers of all types and sizes, and more are on the way. On the other side of this map brochure explains what a global internet hub is, why it's important, and the strategies we are using to build one of these digital hubs. You can go to our website and get more details and more information about that. And if you'd like to get a copy of it, we can send you a copy of it as well. Now we are taking this global internet hub strategy to the next level, to double down basically on this initiative to really make us a unique global internet hub. We all have too many plans in our lives. What people are going to do is to follow a vision. This is our leapfrog strategy, our vision of the future of the I-64 Innovation Corridor. This vision plan folds out also to a 2 foot by 3 foot plan, showcasing how the I-64 Innovation Corridor will stand as the world's leading global internet hub, setting the standard for how nearby regions join together to connect, to power, to secure, and to transform data to drive productivity, innovation, and shared prosperity. On the other side of the plan is why our leapfrog strategy is so important, because today comparison regions are outpacing us in GDP growth. Regions with stronger digital infrastructure consistently outperform the US average in innovation and competitiveness. Digital infrastructure is a major driver of productivity and GDP growth. Achieving our global internet hub Vision 2035 ensures our economy performs at peak potential, that our leapfrog strategy is not just to catch up, but to move ahead. Standing still means falling further behind. Again, if you'd like a copy of this particular vision plan, please let us know and we'll send you a copy of that as well. As part of our Global Internet Hub initiative, RVA 757 Connects is championing for a strong and expanding digital infrastructure ecosystem to enable world-class communications and connectivity. Data centers are one part of that growing ecosystem. Having modern digital infrastructure ecosystems fuel everything from cloud computing and e-commerce to AI-driven manufacturing. The economic impact of data centers extends far beyond jobs, the jobs that are created in the buildings themselves. Data centers have a ripple effect in the economy by supporting a wide range of industries that boost local businesses, that strengthens supply chains, and brings investment to communities across the state. Developing and operating these facilities engages a wide range of industries, including construction, engineering, advanced manufacturing, electrical, HVAC, and sheet metal contracting. The jobs extended well beyond construction and tech as well. Data centers generate employment in local restaurants, hotels, retail shops, and other service-based businesses that benefit from increased activity and investment in this region. An independent analysis by PwC found that each direct job in a data center in the United States between 2017 and 2023, the industry supported an average of 6.5 additional jobs in other sectors. And for every job inside a Virginia data center, Magnum Economics found that an additional 3.5 jobs are supported in the rest of the Virginia economy in 2023. These indirect jobs help grow Virginia's workforce and stimulate economic activity well beyond the data center buildings themselves. Let's watch two videos where executives here at two different companies in Virginia better explain the ripple effect of these data centers.
Data centers are just one part of Virginia's growing digital infrastructure ecosystem that sparks ripple effects throughout the economy by adding new jobs, fueling innovation, and driving growth across the state. In this series, we're taking a look at the people and businesses that lead them.
Colonial Web, we provide the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing services within the large-scale data centers. 2024, we added approximately 600 new teammates, from office professionals to craft trade professionals. The skills that they're learning are transferable and the wages are substantial. To me, this journey is not just about building for today, but it's also contributing to sustainable, connected world that Virginia is leading, and I want to be the one to keep leading it.
Data centers are just one part of Virginia's growing digital infrastructure ecosystem that sparks ripple effects throughout the economy by adding new jobs, fueling innovation, and driving growth across the state. In this series, we're taking a look at the people and businesses that lead them.
So Acoustical Sheet Metal Company manufactures packaging for backup power. And that's making sure that if the lights go out, you have a generator there to power the data center and really get things back up and running in seconds. The best part of this journey has been the growth of our team. Back in February 2019, when I joined the company, we had just 100 employees. Today, we've grown to more than 650, and we're not stopping there. We're excited and proud that Acoustical Sheet Metal is expanding its footprint in Virginia Beach for the third time in 6 years. This time, we're investing $50 million to grow our operations and create 350 new jobs. We believe that this industry is very robust. We play an important part in it, and that's what gets me up each morning, is to continue to reach for the stars.
You can watch these videos, and there's one more on our website at rva757connects.com/beyond-data-centers if you'd like to be able to watch them or spread the word to others as well. We would appreciate that. Now let's turn to today's topic and learn more about this cutting-edge initiative of taking wastewater and turning it into clean water. HRSD is creating this sustainable source of groundwater through its Sustainable Water Initiative for Tomorrow, or the SWIFT program. The SWIFT program takes highly treated water that would otherwise be discharged into the James River and provides additional advanced water treatment to meet drinking water standards. The resulting SWIFT water is then conveyed through managed aquifer recharge wells. By replenishing this groundwater faster than it can be done naturally, SWIFT provides a sustainable, long-term solution that supports communities throughout the Hampton Roads region. Let's hear from our speaker, Lauren Zuravensky. She's HRSD's Director of Design and Construction for the SWIFT project. She holds an engineering degree from Villanova and from Virginia Tech. And prior to moving to Hampton Roads, she worked for consulting engineer in Richmond and in New York City. Before I turn over the program to Lauren, let me remind everyone that if you have questions for the speaker, please use the chat function, and I'll look at those later. And I will now stop sharing the screen and turn it over to Lauren.
All right. Thank you, Greg. I'm going to click through here and make sure that we can see the screen. All right, Greg, can you confirm or you can see it?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, excellent. Well, I appreciate the opportunity. So thank you so much, Greg, and for RVA 757 Connects for having me here today. Like I said, I appreciate the opportunity to share with those that are joining us something that I am passionate about, and that is the Sustainable Water Initiative for Tomorrow. That is an initiative from HRSD to recharge the Potomac Aquifer using highly treated wastewater. So, of course, I'd like to start with, well, what is HRSD besides Hampton Roads Sanitation District, and how does that relate to SWIFT? So HRSD has been serving Hampton Roads for 85 years. We're created in 1940, and with the goal of providing public health, protecting public health. And in doing so, we were also there to save the shellfish industry from the impacts of raw sewage being discharged into open area waterways and ditches. Sometimes I find it amazing to think about what else we were doing in the 1940s and understand at that time, really, right? So dilution was the solution at that point. So I want to share that our promise and vision is something that drew me to this organization, and it also helps to guide where we're going. We're celebrating 85 years here as an organization. We just updated our strategic plan and re-grounded ourselves in an updated promise and vision, because while we're still grounded in public health and environmental protection, we're bringing in more of those elements of recovering natural resources and really codifying that in what we do. So our promise is to treat wastewater and recover natural resources to protect public health and the environment. And our vision is that communities will have clean waterways and reliable water resources for generations to come. So I mentioned we are a wastewater conveyance and treatment utility. We're a regional utility. We provide this service to 20 cities and counties in southeastern Virginia and across the Eastern Shore, which means we serve about 20% of all Virginians. It's about 1.9 million individuals. We are the 14th largest wastewater utility in the country, and we're a political subdivision of the Commonwealth of Virginia. Our governance structure allows us to work collaboratively and think innovatively on how we can continue to support and invest in our promise and to serve the region. And we do that through a lot of infrastructure as well. So we have 8 major treatment facilities and 6 small facilities across the region. You can see some of the stars here on our service area map. We service about 5,000 square miles of southeastern Virginia. And we're talking about miles. We have over 500 miles of sewer force mains and gravity sewers. We have hundreds of pump stations, and that's all bringing the wastewater that we serve into those treatment facilities. And so just to make sure we're grounded in the most basic pieces of the infrastructure, you're using water at your utilities from your homes, businesses, and typically the gravity sewer systems are owned by the localities that we serve in their area. Typically, these are gravity flow type functions, just flowing downhill to the nearest pump station, whether it's owned by the locality or the larger collection pump stations that are in our sewer system. So if you've got a larger pump station, we're actually increasing the hydraulic head and pushing that sewer, using that sewer to push wastewater to our wastewater treatment facilities. And as I mentioned, we have those facilities all over the region, and we have a combined capacity of 225 million gallons a day of wastewater treatment across those 14 facilities. Typically, we're using wastewater treatment technologies that focus on biological, chemical, and physical separation approaches. And we're really focused on being in the Chesapeake Bay area, removing organic carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, so we'll call them generally we're talking about nutrient removal technologies. We're talking nitrogen and phosphorus. We're also talking about pathogen removal and how we can protect public health. So this is typically the way you're going to see wastewater treated in most areas as well. As I mentioned, HRSD updated our strategic plan to have a 2030 vision. Grounded in our environmental responsibility, this seems really obvious, like it aligns very well in what our position is in the community. But we also have key strategic priorities around innovation and financial stewardship. It is really important for us as an agency that serves the community to really respect the ratepayer's dollar. We are primarily ratepayer funded. We want to make sure that we are doing the most effective financial stewardship with those rates. And we're talking about that. It really starts to weave together a number of challenges that we have, but challenges for us often provide opportunities. You may have seen it on the earlier slide. We have a 10-year capital budget that is now about $3.4 billion over the next 10 years. 68% of that is actually regulatorily required investments in infrastructure. And admittedly, a large chunk of that is the SWIFT program. And we'll get to kind of how that works in. And what we're concerned about is making sure that we are managing the rates that our ratepayers are paying across the region. When we talk about regulatorily required aspects, there are 2 key drivers that really set us up for where we are today. The Clean Water Act compliance, we've had both consent decree and consent order at the federal level for most of the last decade. And that was really looking at reducing sanitary sewer overflows. Sanitary sewer systems don't have stormwater in. That's a different story when we're talking in Richmond. So just acknowledging that we have Richmond as a combined system, we have a separate sanitary system, but we are still really concerned about the same things, making sure that what's supposed to be in the pipe is still in the pipe. And a lot of times that has to deal with wet weather management and infrastructure investment. But really also key to the region is continuing the journey on Chesapeake Bay restoration. TMDL stands for total maximum daily load. It's that nutrient diet that we're allowed to discharge out into the region, and not just in Virginia, right? This is a bigger region. We're talking about the Chesapeake Bay watershed, but what we can control and talk about and regulatorily engage with the Commonwealth is at Virginia's level. So Virginia enacted the Enhanced Nutrient Reduction Pollution Removal. There was a House bill actually in 2021, and that set forth how Virginia is going to meet their commitments to nutrient reductions to continue to support the Chesapeake Bay restoration. But when we're talking about, these are all really normal things. There's a regulatory driver. HRSD has been investing money. We continue to drive investment and reduce the amount of nitrogen, phosphorus, and carbon that's discharged out of our systems, right? We're passive receivers. We bring it in and support water users in the region and clean and return that water back to the environment. But really, we're focused on innovation as a key to affordability. And one of the ways that we've done this, again, over the last 10 years, is actually look at the whole region and think about how we need to actually be innovative in water management, even when it comes to regulatory requirements. So looking at those two acts that we were talking about, really how that applies not only to us, but also to our locality partners and those in the Hampton Roads region. If every entity was investing in the necessary actions to have each locality and HRSD manage wet weather and stormwater retrofits and treatment upgrades, all of them still focused in the right direction, that broad compliance impact would have been over $8 billion. And when we were looking back at that about 10 years ago, we acknowledged that there was other ways to be innovative, and we looked towards that integrative plan. And so we've actually engaged recently with the Draga Center for Environmental Analysis and Policy, and they reviewed HRSD's role in that semi-regionalization and leveraging the integrated plan process. And by doing that semi-regionalization, where HRSD is taking on some of that burden, but also using that integrated plan strategy that is really founded in SWIFT, the Sustainable Water Initiative for Tomorrow, that commitment to investing in advanced water reuse and aquifer recharge, very specifically for aquifer recharge, we were able to save the region over $5 billion so that we can really focus on maintaining lower ratepayer bills and really being breaking down water silos. Now we're talking about wet weather, stormwater, and other potential silos, but it's really founded in that integrated planning surrounding SWIFT. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about SWIFT. We have that traditional wastewater flow, receiving, treating, releasing. But really one day someone asked the question, well, we're dealing with all of these nitrogen, phosphorus management, continued discharge limitations through regulatory action. What if we just treated it all the way to meet drinking water standards? Man, can't catch us there. But really when you're looking at effluent discharge out into local waterways, very specifically at the end of the lower James, going out into the bay and very quickly into the Atlantic Ocean, there's really no beneficial downstream users where we are positioned here. Different story elsewhere. But when we're here, we thought to ourselves, really, if we did that, which we could be capable of doing, leveraging some innovation and skill to get to drinking water, what would we do with it? And that's really where the conversation that I'll get into a little bit later about aquifer recovery comes into play. So HRSD worked to develop feasibility, investment, and an implementation plan that now looks like a tricked out drinking water treatment plant, capturing that highly treated wastewater that we have, continuing to treat it further. And so we're placing multiple barriers in place here. We have a little bit different system than what you would expect looking at a California model. So just hit that right in the beginning here. California model, you're typically seeing ultrafiltration, reverse osmosis membranes. But those unit processes are not actually achieving the goals that we need here. So we did side-by-side piloting to show that we can meet drinking water standards and actually still get to compatibility with the Potomac Aquifer and manage it in a cost-effective way, both from a capital cost and from an operating cost. And so for us, SWIFT as a treatment is multiple rounds of advanced water treatment processes that produce SWIFT water. We're actually able to trademark SWIFT water. If you come visit us, we'll be able to share it with you. And that SWIFT water meets drinking water quality standards, but it's also compatible with the geochemistry of the Potomac Aquifer. And so we'll talk a little bit more about how we're really thinking regionally and how we actually really get the multiple benefits of SWIFT by thinking about the aquifer, breaking down those water silos, not saying we just do wastewater, we don't talk about drinking water, we don't talk about groundwater, we don't talk about stormwater. When you start bringing one water concepts into the conversation, you're really able to leverage this for multiple benefits. So as I mentioned, we were talking about all of these pieces: stormwater, wet weather management, nutrient reduction. But if you broaden that lens, you're actually taking into account the conversation that the state was having about the depletion of groundwater resources, regional water availability. We're talking about surface water. Sure, we have rich and surface water, but we'll see that there's the reliance on groundwater as well in Eastern Virginia, and concerns about depleting that resource, seeing a hydrostatic pressure reduction, and what those other concerns might be: simply availability and saltwater contamination, and then the concerns on how that actually impacts land subsidence. You start talking about these impacts that reach farther as land subsides, it actually exacerbates relative sea level rise impacts. So again, broader lens, looking at water solutions that are not simply related to wastewater and wastewater regulatory pieces, but weaving together an opportunity to address multiple issues. So I want to step into the aquifer for a second. Why is the aquifer and the Potomac Aquifer important to us? More broadly, it's the North Atlantic coastal plain aquifer system, right? It stretches from New Jersey all the way down to the Carolinas. But in Virginia, we refer to it as the Potomac Aquifer System. And our service area overlays, and I'll show you later, also the mega region overlays a good chunk of the Eastern Groundwater Management System in Virginia, Eastern Virginia Groundwater Management System, and that Potomac Aquifer. And it's a really productive aquifer in Virginia. And if we're talking about aquifer, it's a large water-bearing sediment layer that stores and transmits water. So it's not an underground lake, but actually interstitial spaces between, you can see here, clay sands, sandy clays, some rocks, and really the sediments that have been laid down over millennia in this region. And it is a primary source of drinking water for some residents and businesses in the area. But naturally recharging of the Potomac Aquifer, because it's a layer cake system where those upper superficial aquifers actually capture what percolates down through the ground, that natural recharge only happens along a pretty small zone called the fall zone along the I-95 corridor is the easiest way to think about it. So natural recharge really only happens up near Richmond for the water that we're using all the way here on the Eastern Shore or in Eastern Virginia. And with the recharge being so slow, it actually can't keep up with the withdrawal that we've seen. And so we've got water being pulled out of the Potomac Aquifer system. You can see it here labeled on the left side of the screen. We've actually reduced the hydrostatic pressure in the Potomac Aquifer. So previously, farmers in Isle of Wight were able to experience artesian conditions. They could put a well in and actually have water coming out all the way down from the Potomac Aquifer, really needing a valve to control it, not a pump to get it out. But as you can see, as the hole in the pipe keeps moving down and down and down over time, we actually really have severely declined the Potomac Aquifer hydrostatic pressure. And why that's important is that over time, and now we've gone significantly farther, and we have gotten significant industrial users, and there's about 177, I think was when this slide information was pulled, so about approximately 150 million gallons per day are permitted to be able to be removed from the Potomac Aquifer. There's also some unpermitted smaller domestic wells, but that maybe round up to somewhere around 40 million gallons per day. Not all of it's evenly distributed over the aquifer. You can see that in some very significant withdrawal centers, you can actually see groundwater levels decreasing in a cone of depression. And it's this groundwater supply that's actually a Commonwealth resource. This is a resource for the whole Commonwealth. and management of it became a priority for DEQ. And there were some documents and studies produced in the late teens, so somewhere in the range of 2015, 16, 17, really thinking about how does the state, how does the Commonwealth manage groundwater and maintain its access for those that need it. One of the first steps they did, so maybe I was quoting off for a little bit. So in 2013, per this article here, the state started talking about reducing permit capacity. These permitted users, both private industries and public users. These public users, some of them are not predominantly on well water. They may have surface water, but they need that well water to actually meet requirements for a sustainable water system. So both industries and public users were being impacted by these state cuts. You can see their prior permit and they were cut back. And we're looking at these cuts in 2017, but we are also 10 years out. We're looking at 2027 to see, has there been recovery? And we really weren't seeing these permits hit the recovery of groundwater hydrostatic pressures as we are looking for. And as I mentioned, not only are those pressures important for water availability, but more broadly across the region, even if you're not pulling water out of the aquifer, you're subject to that land subsidence. As that water is pulled out and the pressures drop, you actually see land subsidence or compaction of that aquifer. And we believe from empirical evidence that some of that aquifer compaction is recoverable. So even if you're not reducing withdrawal that allows the water to re-establish itself and recover pressures in the system, there's also the opportunity for aquifer recharge. And that's really where we get back into the story, talking about if you have a water resource, we're recovering natural resources, we're handling the water from the region and treating it. And if we can treat it all the way to drinking water, which was the question 10 years ago, we've progressed well beyond the can we perspective. And we now can show that we can get it into the aquifer. And we're partnering with USGS to be able to show with their extensometer system that as the water is being placed back into the aquifer, you can see the recovery, the reverse of that compaction. And so we've got extensometers throughout the region with them, and that data is publicly available as well. And so managed aquifer recharge of the Potomac Aquifer with swift water provides multiple benefits for the region. We're protecting the Chesapeake Bay by meeting the limitations of nutrient requirements. We're driving higher quality treated water, and we're using that high quality treated water, swift water, as a sustainable source for groundwater, which helps to reduce the overall rate of land subsidence and can put a barrier to reduce the potential of saltwater contamination. And so it's really broadly thinking beyond that lens of a single silo of water management and moving farther. And it's aligning this water reuse approach with also some national trends. I happen to be honored to serve on the Water Reuse National Board. And as we're talking about water reuse from a Virginia perspective, and specifically an Eastern Virginia perspective related to groundwater and aquifer recovery, we are not the only state that has an aquifer recovery plan that could involve and does involve water reuse. But we're moving, into the conversation where it's not solely aquifer recovery, or in the West where it's just surface water availability, but we're actually seeing national trends of additional sections of the Water Reuse Association reflecting the investment in economic development and the need for that investment. Specifically, my example here in Ohio, one of our newest chapters of the organization, they're really looking at water reuse as an opportunity to be able to support the economic development, very, very specifically in the Columbus area with the utilities I've been speaking with, and doing so using a water reuse mindset and that advanced water treatment mindset to be able to support the growth and development in the region. So every region looks at it a little bit differently, but we're all talking together about water reuse and how water reuse is a trend to be able to support sustainable water master planning regionally. We do have the opportunity to brag. We've got a great team, and I'm going to highlight some of that great team a little bit later. We are a global wastewater utility leader, but we're really investing here locally to be able to leverage water reuse. And so I had to shamelessly put in a bunch of construction photos, and I'm hoping they're exciting as well, because I'm excited about this full-scale implementation program that I've been running for the last 8 years. It's a $3 billion or just under $3 billion infrastructure investment program. We're going to end up with 50 million gallons a day capacity of being able to put swift water into the Potomac Aquifer, and that's spread over a number of discrete capital improvement projects. And we're implementing this throughout the region, and it's really significant investment in Hampton Roads to be able to achieve that goal. So we'll start up here in Newport News for a second. We've been working on maybe this project the longest. So back in 2019, we've been working on a significant investment in our wastewater treatment facility, bringing that up to be able to be influent to our swift water treatment and putting that advanced water treatment improvements in place. You can see a lot of activity going on here, and we're excited that we'll be able to complete this facility and have the ability to put water, swift water specifically, back into the Potomac Aquifer by fall of this year. We also had a very major effort to consolidate treatment. So we'll talk about how our Boat Harbor pump station is the evolution from moving away from a treatment facility that was landlocked to be able to consolidate treatment. So Boat Harbor treatment facility is in Newport News. Our Nansemond treatment facility is in Suffolk, and we're actually seeing them come together, linking those two facilities by some major investment. It's over $1 billion within this set of projects here. We're constructing a new pumping facility in Newport News. We actually are conveying screened and degraded wastewater in a new transmission force main. So that pumped sewer that we were talking about earlier, all the way from Newport News to Suffolk, to where we're expanding our Nansemond treatment plant in Suffolk, and then adding those advanced treatment processes and the recharge wells in an effort that's been going on at least, like I said, for the past 8 years. So starting in Newport News, we've built a very large pump station. If you know pump stations, this is beyond really a normal pump station. It has 2 pump stations. One is a 50 million gallon per day capacity lift station into this facility where we remove screenings and grit, and then a 36.5 MGD pump station that transfers the flow over to Suffolk. This large tank in the back here helps us handle some of those wet weather issues where flow increases very dramatically, and we need to be able to stay within the capacity of those pump stations. And we're really excited to have this pump station facility ready this year. Concurrently, this yellow arrow points out where we're looking back from the far side of the shipping channel back into Newport News. We're putting a force main in place. Like I said, it was about 5 miles crossing the James River. So here we're floating above the platform looking back, and we had a world record horizontal directional drill to put in place to be able to connect and not disrupt the shipping channel, but get us started in crossing the James River. Some of the really exciting things that we did was fuse together a mile of HDPE plastic pipe and get that pipe ready and actually float it for a while in the James River until we're ready with the drill. And I'll point out the QR code if you click this one here or on the next slide. We've got a great hype video. Our construction team was super excited about hitting a world record, and we were as well. And we were actually up to lift that pipe and put it into place. And over a 24-hour period, we dragged that 1 mile of pipe through a borehole that was under the shipping channel by another 100 feet below that channel. So it took about 24 hours last year, and it's really been pretty exciting to be able to see that come into place. While that is just one piece of what we're doing, we're bringing all of that wastewater flow into this Nansemond facility. We've been updating this facility for a number of years, and we expect it to be ready to receive that flow this year. And we're moving beyond this $300 million investment in expanding our wastewater treatment to another $700 million investment. You can see the rendered photo here of where we're putting those advanced treatment processes in place. So we've just got started. You can see some early site work and foundation work, and we're expecting this portion of the project to be done in spring of 2029. So what we're excited about is not only the ability to do the work, but the opportunities that we've leveraged through funding partnerships and really the ability to get work into place. And it's been an exciting ride for our team. One of the very first things we did before we dove into this huge infrastructure investment was to build our SWIFT Research Center at that Nansemond facility in Suffolk, because we needed to be able to work with regulators to develop the structure for approving and allowing advanced water treatment and aquifer recharge. And we've been successfully putting swift water into the Potomac Aquifer since 2018. This Swift Research Center facilitates a lot of research that we do, and we'll talk about that a little bit. You can take a virtual tour of it here using the QR code, but I really encourage you to consider how, if you've got a group in the region or would you like to come see it, we host, we've had a number of Chamber of Commerce groups come have their board meetings and then leverage it as an opportunity to take a tour, to talk about water and talk about water reuse and how that supports economic development in the region. So please feel free to take the virtual tour or reach out to us to set up time to come see us in person in Suffolk. The research center was built, it was a $25 million design build effort, and it continues to support our public education, regulatory development, operator training, and really talking a lot about optimization and research and how we continue to launch water and the discussion of water innovation out to our global partners as well as our investments here. And since 2018, we're excited that we've celebrated our 1 billion gallon of water into the Potomac Aquifer. So as I mentioned, we really have the opportunity through our governance structure and through our strategic plan to leverage research. And we have a water technology and research department that really focuses on effective resource recovery, operations, and facility designs. We've got a great team here. We're working with a lot of graduate researchers. And what that has done is encouraged our discussion about water technology and innovation to expand beyond our organization and really beyond the utility partners that we're working with. Our CEO, Jay Burness, is really interested in supporting the growth of the Silicon Valley of water technology in Hampton Roads. And we think it's a big idea, but we think it's really a great opportunity. We have the structure to be able to leverage HRSD as a research capable industry and a utility that is really forward thinking to be an anchor for economic development in the Hampton Roads region and in the innovation corridor, as we already have multiple partners along the corridor as well. We are looking to actually develop opportunities throughout the whole water cycle. In this case, it's not the water cycle, but really the cycle of technology and innovation. We have some opportunities and partnerships that we've been using to accelerate. We work with Rise Resilience, which have some challenges that are coming out in the next couple months. We've been attracting partnerships with companies. We've been talking to Jefferson Labs about how we can use, they can use and develop and then commercialize eventually opportunities for reducing PFAS. We actually collaborate regionally with other partners. We've been in a lot of discussions with Ferguson on how to be able to leverage this water innovation. And we're trying to get vendors and industrial users to come to the region. We've been talking with Amazon Web Service and Google, and they're already attending our water conferences, our regional and state water conferences here, talking about water reuse and water partnerships. And we encourage all of you, when you're thinking about economic development, to think about water partnerships. What we're trying to do is leverage water industries and innovative startups to get beyond what this author, our friend Wim, has identified as a chasm in the development. So there's a few early adopters and innovators, and what we're trying to do, and we have examples of doing, is launching beyond an early adopter market into really broad implementation of water infrastructure through this network and this ecosystem of partnerships. So we have an indents graph here. Indents is a technology I'll mention on the next slide, and you can really see that growth. And the QR code here takes you to Wim's article about how we can use water utilities to launch innovation. Specifically, this indents process is talking about separating biomass so that we can continue to use it and manage and leverage existing treatment plant capacity without building more tanks. That's exciting, right? It's exciting for me because I'm a wastewater partner, but how is it exciting for everyone else? How does everyone else see this as a benefit from this advanced ecosystem? Well, through this partnership, this is a patented technology, and through this partnership, we were able to actually share this patent out through our global network. And you can see the launch of adoption here. That orange line is the adoption of this technology through the patents that we've been working on. In the US, Denver utilities actually will implement indents and expect to be saving $66 million. And we're seeing it implemented globally throughout the world to improve wastewater treatment. And this is something that we worked on here together with our partners in Hampton Roads. So we have tangible examples on how this water innovation ecosystem can truly advance us forward. And we really see this through a multi-step, really idea generation, being part of this testing system, and working with our partners then to launch and invest further when you've had the opportunity to work with our utility or other utilities, right? We actually partner a lot with other global utilities. One of the ones I wanted to highlight is just recently in January, we're partnering with Korea Water and a firm called Wintech Glovis to bring the first ever pilot of a PFAS destruction technology here into the US. So we're going to be piloting this in partnership with Korea Water, and we had a signing event just at our research center in January. We're really excited to bring new technologies here and have our infrastructure here at HRSD to be able to support this. So beyond testing and innovation, right, all of this is based on partnerships. We have the ability to bring together a lot of partners. Just last week, we hosted HRSD's Industry Day and filled a ballroom of engineers, vendors, contractors, those who are interested in, of course, working on the work that we have, that capital investment, but we're really asking them to also think creatively. How do we launch innovation in this region to actually improve global impact on water reuse? And so we're talking a lot about big ideas, water technology advancement, this innovation ecosystem, and it's built on partnerships and collaboration. We're really looking to leverage HRSD's infrastructure and expertise to create economic development industry opportunities and also amplify our community impact. We're trying to do that amplification through getting the word out. We were really excited that 757 Tech Night acknowledged us as a winner in technological advancement in government just this last fall. And we were highlighted in the COVA Biz magazine. So please feel free to grab the QR code here, or will be in the slides later, as an innovation superhero, really looking with our strategic leadership to be able to advance that here. And so you can read a little bit more about it. And I want to bring this all back here to where we're talking about HRSD's service area, Eastern Virginia, the innovation corridor, and how this overlays with SWIFT. Because we acknowledge that we see and appreciate the efforts that the innovation corridor and the mega region are talking about. We want to be part of that conversation where it's relevant. But we're not the only water purveyors in the region. We're not a drinking water purveyor. We're a wastewater treatment authority. But we really see that there's an opportunity to get water partners into the conversation on the innovation corridor. Maybe you'll see some more water partners in your map here on where we can highlight opportunities. And those opportunities really surround on the criticality of needing to have water infrastructure in that discussion of regional cooperation and development. The Virginia Chamber of Commerce just issued the Virginia Blueprint 2035, and this is the first year that they actually referenced clean water as part of a major infrastructure goal for development in the region. And it's truly fundamental, both the use of water and the ability to actually discharge water into the surface water systems and the groundwater systems is fundamental to be able to have sustainable economic growth. And so what we're promoting is that regional cooperation and development is key. And what we're looking for is advocates, additional advocates to help develop, irregardless of HRSD or other utilities, really sound Virginia Commonwealth economic development policies and representative leadership that focus on sustainable water infrastructure, master planning, looking at regional opportunities. And personally, I'm excited and enthusiastic about using water reuse tools like the SWIFT program to be able to address the water needs in the region. And really, all of this comes back to an investment in water innovation. Our water infrastructure hub and our water ecosystem is really a place that we want to grow further investment and develop further partnerships. So I've appreciated the time I've had here today to talk about SWIFT, our advanced water treatment technologies, and our aquifer recharge program. Hopefully share a little bit more about who HRSD is. And for us, SWIFT is really important. So please feel free to check out the highlight reel on why SWIFT matters to HRSD. And again, I'm Lauren Zorovinsky. I'm the Director of Design and Construction within HRSD. If you can reach out to me, but you can also reach out to anyone within HRSD, and our General Manager and CEO is really excited to talk to you about potential innovative and water infrastructure ecosystem partnerships. So with that, Greg, I appreciate the time here.
No, that's fascinating. Okay, I'm going to ask that high school stupid question. So I know we're talking about wastewater, but will there be a point when this clean water is drinkable water?
So it is drinkable water today. Actually, if when you come to the Swift Research Center, we can hand you Swift water and we enjoy it. We've been actually since 2016 when we did our first tasting events, we can drink Swift water. It meets drinking water quality standards. Why it's important for us to put it into the Potomac Aquifer and not into the drinking water system is that we have stable drinking water systems now. And it's really that hydrostatic pressure recovery that broadens the regional benefit of putting that much water, power, chemical, and personnel resources into treating to drinking water standards from that highly treated wastewater.
Gotcha. Thanks. We have a question from Tom O'Grady. Again, if anyone has questions, please use the chat function. Tom asks, discharge of the Nansemond treatment plant before Swift and after Swift, does the depth of the approach to the west side of the boat channel underneath the MMBT remain the same?
Okay, so I think I'm gonna try and unpack this for you, Tom, and if not, please feel free to clarify your question. So there's a couple pieces here. Talking about discharge from our Nansemond treatment facility, currently it is rated at 30 million gallons per day, and we're expanding it up to 50 million gallons per day. So we'll be able to actually discharge all of the wastewater collected in our Boat Harbor service area in Hampton and Newport News, and combine it with what's collected in the Suffolk and Isle of Wight area, and discharge all of that as highly treated wastewater through our Nansemond outfall. So that will actually increase the flow there. But if you're talking about depth of approach on the west side of the channel approaching the Monitor Merrimack, the force main that we've placed under there is actually 100 feet below the water line, not the water line, sorry, below the mud line under the channel. So the expectation is that our designers created an approach angle and a depth that would allow it to stay in place with further dredging actually taken in place. So it is not impacting the depth of the channel, and we expect it to not be an issue into the significant planning future.
Barrett Stork asks a question about data centers often need a large supply of water to enable equipment cooling. What role could HRSD play in ensuring that there's a ready supply of it? Could Swift water be diverted for that use?
So I think one of the most important opportunities that we have here is to continue to provide that regional benefit such that groundwater is available to any user, right? So we have really created what our previous GM had called a wireless solution, making sure that the water gets into the ground so that anyone in that groundwater area could use it. So the opportunity to have a ready supply of groundwater for that use is something that the SWIFT program is working on, right? Pressure recoveries we've modeled using the Commonwealth's groundwater model to show that hydrostatic pressure recovery with SWIFT water in the ground will continue to improve over the next couple decades. An immediate need for Swift water really is a conversation about water quality needs at the data center, if there's any specific needs on that water quality. And I think location of where we are relative to HRSD's generation of Swift water. Some of our concerns is making sure that moving water far distances is always fairly investment. So wherever a data center is looking to locate, having a conversation about what the water resources are in that area and how they're managed is important. So the could for Swift water, of course, Swift water is drinkable quality water. I think the diversion really just talks about location and investment in the infrastructure needed to get any reuse water to where you need.
Because Lauren, it looked like one of your slides you were talking about water reuse for potential data centers up in the Columbus, Ohio area. So I guess they are looking into using that resource, that water reuse resource. up there, so they could be used in this market as well.
Yeah, no, that technology is available to use wastewater treated through advanced water treatments to be reusable water. I think the target is where that we hit that point for water quality. Not just in Columbus, Ohio, but here in Virginia, the Northern Virginia utilities are providing reuse water, which is different than swift water. And I know it's a little bit complicated. Reuse water, purple pipe water, that actually has a specific set of regulations to manage the quality of reuse water. And that purple pipe system is expanded. And I believe there are some data centers in Northern Virginia already using that purple pipe reuse water for cooling. So again, the could is yes. The could is yes. You can use reuse water for those applications. But in this case, swift water is really drinkable quality water, which is slightly different from purple pipe reuse water. We've kind of gone beyond what may be necessary. And so talking about how do we use the water resources most effectively is definitely part of that water management and water planning when you're looking at it at a regional basis.
Alan Harrison asks, what impact does this have on the higher aquifer lenses in Eastern Virginia, like in Aquia, Chickahominy, Yorktown, Eastover?
Yeah, so we actually have a wonderful hydrogeologist on staff, and he could give a fabulous whole other half hour to an hour or longer presentation on that. And so, Alan, if you'd like to connect with me, I can make sure you are connected with Dan Holloway, who is our hydrogeologist. But one of the key things I wanted to mention is that our the USGS partnership with those extensometers, we have one that's a simple extensometer in Suffolk where it has just one bore. And so you kind of see the whole ground surface movement related to bedrock. The later ones that we've put in with USGS have multiple 2 or 3 bores that actually give us resolution so that we can see the difference between Potomac aquifer, top of aquifer movement relative to bedrock, and those upper aquifers. So we can actually see the variance between aquifers and how they are all moving relative to bedrock related to the data collected by USGS and those extensometers. So I think we're evolving the understanding of what that looks like beyond the research that USGS has already done in the area and what they see in groundwater movement and the impact of the hydrostatic pressure.
And what he wants to also know, what's the impact on saltwater boundary, and how might this impact users of the Potomac aquifer water than currently have to treat for higher TDS levels prior to potable use?
Yeah, so there's already some pretty significantly high TDS levels in the Potomac aquifer, right? That we were talking about how we couldn't use reverse osmosis because that water would lack so much salts, TDS, that we couldn't even get it into the aquifer. So we know that there's pretty high TDS present, especially as you go deeper into the lower zones of the Potomac aquifer system. So that saltwater boundary obviously is at a little bit on the Chesapeake Bay, predominantly on the Atlantic Ocean side of that aquifer. And as the hydrostatic pressures reduce, you can actually see a migration of that saltwater boundary into the aquifer. And once that happens, it's not really recoverable. So the engagement with the hydrogeologist in the region is to rebuild that hydrostatic pressure to be able to keep that wave from progressing faster than it might naturally occur. So as that, I mean, to try and answer your question more directly, as that boundary moves forward, really you're just seeing higher and higher TDS where you're closer more to a desalination type, right? It's a higher, closer to seawater type level beyond the existing fairly generally high TDS that's in the Potomac aquifer, even though that's still at a treatable and drinkable level.
And Lauren, are there other wastewater utilities using the SWIFT technology elsewhere? Is this other utilities using this?
Yeah, so we actually have had the opportunity of working with multiple utilities, actually some inland California utilities that have said, hey, RO membranes don't work for us. We don't have the ocean to discharge to. They quietly have come to visit us over years to be able to say, how do you use this carbon-based ozone type filtration piece, which I tell you, I did not get into the deep details on how we're doing the treatment. That could take its own presentation itself. but we really have made ourselves available through published research, through utility partnerships, utility visits, to be able to show this is how we talk about swift water. This is how we generate swift water. These are the challenges we've seen, how we've overcome them. But to answer your question specifically, we've worked really closely with Maryland Utility that is in the Potomac Aquifer region as well. They don't call it the Potomac in the Maryland area, but it's that same coastal aquifer system. And they're actually fairly directly following in our footsteps on applying the same sequence of unit processes. The interesting part is that sequence of unit processes are actually known water treatment technologies. So while someone might not be doing Swift specifically, and they certainly won't be doing Swift water branded technology, they can use that technology to meet their specific drivers, whether it's specific for an industrial use or for a potable water use or for an aquifer recovery use. And those unit processes can be plugged together to meet treatment targets, as long as you're thinking innovation and how do we use this highly treated wastewater to get all the way to that endpoint.
Well, this has been fascinating, and Laura, I'm sure we could talk more about this, and maybe even sometime we have Jay on one of these programs. But thank you very much. Let's just well, what's coming up next as we are in the witching hour after 1 hour. Just a reminder that you can go to our website at rva757connects.com to learn more about our major initiatives and other programs. Also, a reminder, in about an hour or so, this webinar will be on our website, so you can review it later and send it on to other people to spread the word about this water innovation that's taking place in Hampton Roads. All of our webinars since 2022 are on our website, so you can review them. There's a lot of different topics and content there. If you are interested, please take some time to look to see what type of topics are available and listen in. A reminder that next month, a month from now, on Wednesday, March the 4th, again at noon, will be the discussion relating to Old Dominion University and the partnership with Google. And that should be a fascinating program. We'll have some more details in about 2 weeks about that, so you can sign up. And Lauren, thank you very much for being our speaker today. We greatly appreciate it. Fascinating discussion. Thanks again for taking the time out and helping us educate people about what's happening with this water innovation.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks to all of you for participating in today's discussion. We appreciate it. We couldn't get to all the questions, but thanks, and we'll be in touch. Have a great afternoon and stay warm.